Hello and welcome to Paint Talk, the weekly show where I sit, have a cup of coffee, and talk about oil painting. If you're new to the channel, my name is Chris Fornatero, and I'm here to help simplify oil painting so that you can get better, faster. So in this video, I'm going to give you my 5 best tips for getting better at painting faster. To me, these are the most important things in terms of speeding up the rate at which you're progressing. Before we get into them, I'm just gonna say right from the start, I'm not gonna include painting a lot. Probably the most important thing is just painting a whole bunch, but I'm gonna leave that out because I assume everybody knows the more you paint, the better you're gonna get. So that aside, let's jump on in. All right, tip number 1 is you are never too good for the fundamentals. You're never too good for the fundamentals. I'm not too good for the fundamentals. Michelangelo wasn't too good for the fundamentals. No matter where you are skill-wise, you're never too good to go back and revisit the fundamentals. I personally found that whenever something isn't working in one of my paintings, or I just can't seem to get something right, or a certain subject always gives me trouble, the answer is always in the fundamentals. That's things like drawing, value, color, shapes, simplification, stuff like that. I guarantee that most of your problems, if not all of your painting problems, can be solved with addressing the fundamentals. Not that you need a new brush or you need to learn facial anatomy, you gotta buy some specific color of paint to get a certain color. No, the problem is fundamentals. For example, if you're having trouble with your portraits, like you just can't get a good likeness, I highly recommend going back and looking at your drawing skills and improving those. Because if you don't have good drawing skills, if you're not able to place these features in the correct place, you're not going to be able to get a good likeness. Especially with portraiture, man. Like if your features are off by a millimeter, it can throw the whole thing off. Or if you go and you try and paint landscapes and you're just overwhelmed at how many things are just in the scene, like, oh, I got this tree, I got this river, I got this rock, I got this grass, I got these leaves, I got these branches, like what do I, like, if that's overwhelming you, then you need to work on simplification. You need to work on squinting your eyes. You need to work on looking at a scene, and I don't care if it's a landscape, a portrait, a still life, anything, and simplifying it. Ironically, being able to simplify things isn't that simple. It takes a lot of work, practice, and repetition. All right, tip number 2 is paint studies. Now, what are studies? I actually thought that for a long time. Like when I was in college and stuff, and I hear people, oh, you gotta do studies. I'm like, what are you studying? Are you taking notes? Like, what does studying mean? It can mean a lot of different things for different people. But for me, it's just painting something with the sole purpose of learning. Like I'm not planning on doing anything with this painting, not necessarily even concerned with showing it to anybody or selling it or posting it or whatever. I mean, I may, but I just want to paint something to learn. And you don't have to go into a study like with a specific thing in mind that you're trying to learn. I mean, you can, but just painting something you're going to learn. And actually, I've come to realize that when I do a study, I feel like I'm not doing it so much to study a subject as much to study myself, to study what are my weaknesses. And certain subjects present more difficulty in certain areas than other subjects. So for example, like I recently painted some flowers, and I hadn't painted flowers in a while, and I didn't realize how important it is to simplify things. You got all these petals and all these folds and everything, and it's so important to really simplify everything, especially at the beginning, to really construct the right form. You know, painting something like roses is going to really exercise your ability to simplify things more than, say, other subjects. But I didn't really necessarily know that going in. I just went in there to paint some roses, and I was like, whoa, like my simplification skills need some work. I didn't realize that. You know, I'm glad I did this painting and studied these flowers and learned something about myself, learned something that I need to work on, something that is lacking. And a study shouldn't be more than one session of painting, really, like, you know, 1 3 to 5 hour session of painting. This isn't, you know, a full polished completed painting. That's another great thing about studies, is that they're quick. You know, you get in, you learn something, you get out, you move on to something else. Realize what you did good, realize where you did bad, and assess before you go on to your next study. And honestly, most of the paintings I do, I feel like, you know, probably 90% of the paintings that I do are quote unquote studies. Every now and then, like I'll do a study that I think turns out really well. I'm like, oh, this would actually work as a good painting. And then I'll maybe make some adjustments and plan to, you know, blow it up to a larger painting. Or not necessarily a larger painting, maybe a more refined painting. But most of the time, I'm just learning. And doing studies like these will make you get better faster because, one, you'll be doing a higher rate of paintings. You don't want to get stuck just doing full completed paintings that take you weeks, because I feel every painting presents a different set of problems. I feel like halfway through a painting, you've kind of figured out everything that needs to be figured out, or you've come across all the problems that particular painting has to offer you. So the more often you can get through the entire process of painting, you know, starting a painting, working a painting, and completing a painting, the better. All right, tip number 3 is copy other great painters' paintings. Find painters you like, find the old masters, you know, and copy their paintings, paint from another painting. Just don't try and pass it off as your own. And when you do these, I recommend kind of choosing one aspect of their painting to focus on, you know, whether it's like the colors or the values or the brushwork. If you try and just make a complete identical replica of it, it can get, you know, pretty overwhelming because you're gonna have to, you know, you're focusing on the brushwork, the colors, the values, the drawing. Like, it can be a little too much, but like if you go in and just focus, like, I'm gonna really focus on the colors here. I'm gonna really take my time to mix up and match the colors that they use. Like, I've done that a bunch with like Edgar Payne or John Singer Sargent paintings, and I'm just like blown away at the colors on my palette. And I'm like, wow, like I would never have gotten these colors for a portrait. I found this is also very helpful with landscapes. I've actually had a lot of my one-on-one students do master copies of landscape paintings, because if you can't get out and plein air paint and paint from life, it's very difficult to find good photos for landscapes. It's actually kind of impossible, just because a photo can't expose for the shadows and the highlights in a landscape. And just when you're painting from life, you just see so much more in the shadows. The colors are different. The atmosphere is different. You're just getting so much more information. So when you copy a painting that's done from a master that was done from life, you're getting a better sense of how light really works. You're not studying how light works in a photograph, you're studying how light works in real life, and you're seeing more values in those shadows, and you're getting more of a sense of the atmosphere and the air. Like, a lot of people say that, you know, a lot of landscape painting is painting the air of understanding depth and being able to communicate that. It's also going to help you with composition, because a lot of landscape painters will move things to create a better composition. So you'll just get, you know, kind of muscle memory in terms of seeing good compositions, and you'll start developing a sense of when a composition looks right and is pleasing to the eye and is moving the viewer's eye throughout the painting. But whenever I assign a landscape copy to my students, they always say they learn a lot from it, and I see a big jump in the quality of their work. All right, tip number 4 is don't be afraid to invest some money into getting better. This could be in-person workshops, it could be online workshops, tutorials, videos, critiques, books. Now, I'm not saying the more money you spend, the better you're gonna get, but be willing to pay for information that is going to get you better and save you a lot of time. Over the years, I've spent thousands of dollars on videos and tutorials and books. I mean, I've said this before, like, I pretty much learned how to paint from online videos. I had a decent base coming out of high school and going into college, and then I was pretty much on my own in college, and I had no money in college and out of college. I couldn't afford to go to these workshops that I really wanted to go to. There's so many great painters out there that would have, you know, workshops for several days, but, you know, they were in different states and they were very expensive, and you had to pay for travel and lodging, and I couldn't afford that. The best that I could do was buy somebody's, at the time, DVD, and they were like $100+, which was a lot for me. And I wasn't able to get all the videos that I wanted. There was some that I wanted to get, but I was just like, that I can't afford that right now. But the ones that I did purchase, I saw them as an investment. And I realized that if I can just come away with at least one piece or nugget of information that's gonna save me time, that's gonna save me a lot of times years, like, it's worth it. And also, I've revisited videos that I've bought like 10 years ago, because as you develop and as you get better, you understand more, and you're gonna be able to revisit these videos and get a lot more out of it. Like, there's videos that I bought 10 years ago that if I watched today, I would get so much more out of it, and so much of it would make sense. So don't just think that when you buy like a video or something that it's just, oh, I'm going to, you know, paint along with this person one time, or, you know, watch their stuff and then that's it. Painting is such a unique thing in that everybody's journey is different. Like, everybody's path of learning goes in different ways, and it's always winding, and you know, you get better, and then you feel like you're not getting better, then you feel like, oh, am I getting worse? Then you'll have a breakthrough, and then it'll stop. And certain aspects of painting will come really easy, and other aspects you'll struggle a lot with, whereas somebody else, it's like the complete opposite. But that's fun. Like, it's cool to look back and, you know, and like, I like to think back on certain subjects that really gave me trouble, and just all the days going out to plein air paint and it not working, you know, out in the sun with the mosquitoes and the heat, driving 45 minutes just to make a painting that you're gonna wipe down and nobody's gonna see. Yeah, at the time, it's very difficult. It's very heartbreaking, but looking back, it's kind of like honorable. It's like, yeah, like I went through that hard time. And I know that it's easy just to, you know, paint on your own, paint by yourself, like, oh, I'll just learn by painting and practicing. And yes, like you are gonna learn a lot doing that. And even with instruction, the most of your learning is going to happen just through practicing. Like a lot of painting teachers say, like, I can't teach you how to paint. I can guide you and direct you and tell you where to look to find answers. But everybody's different. Everybody's going to find answers at different times and in different ways. And the only way to find them is to actually practice. But what instruction can do is it can point you in the right direction. It can save you time. It can, you know, say, hey, don't go down that way. There's not really that many answers, you know, practicing like that or looking for that. Like, look towards these things. Like, you're gonna find, you'll probably find a lot more answers going down this path than that path. I mean, I could have been at the level that I'm at now way sooner if I sought out more instruction. If I did prioritize painting higher and save up money and get in-person instruction, you know, find someone to mentor with, I could be a lot further than I am now. And even now I seek out instruction. Like, I paid to get mentored by a local painter where I live. Now, I know from experience, you know, some people are on a tighter budget than others, but just really assess it, you know, how much you really want to get better at painting. And if you find yourself just painting a lot on your own and spinning your wheels, like, look to find some sort of guidance in the form of instruction. It can save you years. All right, and the last tip is paint from life as much as you can. I know you've heard this a bunch, like every painter talks about this. And I know you're thinking like, Chris, like I don't have time to set up a still life every time I want to paint. I don't have somebody, you know, willing to just sit for 3 or 5 hours for a portrait painting. Like, I don't have a pochade box to go out and plein air paint. I get it. I've talked about this in previous videos, and I've always said I'd rather you paint 5 times a week from a photograph than paint 3 times a week from real life. You know, the bottom line is reps, and get as many reps as you can, but be willing to push yourself to invest a little more time. And I'm not going to lie to you and not tell you that painting from life isn't important, because it is very, very important. And I really believe that you will see faster growth in your abilities when you work from life. This could be just setting an apple on a stool, painting it, you know, finding anything, a Coke can, a bottle, you know, for a still life. It could be really easy. Like, you got a mirror, do a self-portrait, you know, in a mirror. It's fun. If you got someone nice enough, tell them, you know, hey, can you just sit here, and tell them to put like an earbud in and watch a movie and just try and hold relatively still while you know, sketch and do a painting. You're gonna learn so much. Doing this is really gonna build your observational skills. You're also gonna paint in a better way. You're gonna wanna simplify things more, because like a photograph, you can get really close to it or zoom in on your computer and really see all these fine little details. And details are fine. It's just, I don't think I've seen somebody learning how to paint where their problem was their details. Their problem was not blocking in and getting the big shapes and the big values first. You know, you get that, you can pile on as many details as you want, or as few as you want. You're also gonna understand how light works. You're gonna see more light in the shadows. You're gonna see more reflected light. You're gonna see more colors and really bright light, where in a photograph it'd be kind of blown out to white. It's also going to enhance your paintings that you do from photographs, because you'll just know certain things about how light works, and you'll be able to find them a lot easier, or you'll be able to put them in when they're not very visible in a photograph. So I know it's hard, but truth is working from life as much as you can will make you get better faster. All right, that's it for this week's Paint Talk. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're looking for some painting coaching, I got my Foundations of Oil Painting course. Everything you need to know to get going oil painting is in there. I'll put a link in the description below. I also got a Patreon page with over 60 full painting video tutorials. I'll put a link down there as well. If you want to see what I'm painting on a daily basis, you can follow me on Instagram at Forza43. I'm Chris Fornatero, here telling you to go get painting.